They slide it towards me and say, you do it. So I do. I run along like a good little girl. I've come out to my car because there's no way I would get through this story in my house. It's far too crazy. I can't. I've had a few messages from people asking what the fallout was over, because that can make a difference to the story, I guess, and whether I'm in the right or the wrong. And actually, I am going to tell the story, because if I am in the wrong, I would like to know. I can take that on the chin. Do I just give up? I need you to know as well that as much as this story sounds like I've made it up because it's so dramatic over not much, I haven't made this up. And obviously I can only tell this from my own point of view. But here we go. December 2023, we all go for a family meal for 2 people's birthdays. It just so happened that at one end of the table were the people who were ordering the 3 courses, the cocktails, alcohol all night, neat alcohol all night. And then at the other end of the table was my end. We was not doing that. I had 1 Coke all night, 1 Coke, because of my financial situation, which I will explain to you. It's a few days before Christmas. My daughter was 2, and I needed to give her a magical Christmas. Obviously, that was my priority. That was where my money was going. Also, I'm trying to save for a deposit. Also, life is expensive. I don't have much money. I have to have priorities. I have to prioritize things that need my money before other things. Anyway, I'd budgeted for this meal. I was not going over my budget because I couldn't afford to. As soon as we got the bill, we worked out what ours come to, kind of said we're paying for what we've had, obviously, because we've not had anywhere near as much as what the other end of the table had had. And if I was privileged enough to be at the other end of that table, I would never have expected people who hadn't had half of what I'd had to pay the same amount. I would never have expected that. And I have been in that situation. And I've been the person to say, no, you can't pay equal. But that's neither here nor there. And we also had people like my sister-in-law, who was pregnant at the time, who also only had 1 Coke all night. You surely can't expect her to pay the same as 3 courses, cocktails and alcohol. What? This end pay, that end then get past the bill. It's very clear what's going on. We've been very transparent about what we're doing. My whole end, we were all working out our own bills. It was half of the table. We were all working out our own bills. I never led this at all. It's what I was going to do. I never made anybody else do it. But when the bill goes over to the other end, I'm the one who gets called over. I'm going to need some nicknames for people because I need to be a little bit careful here. So, the man I'm going to call Bob, and the woman I will call Gretchen. Gretchen and another female call me over, just me, and say it's wrong. The attitude, first of all, so much attitude. So I'm like, what's wrong? And they're like, you've worked it out wrong. It's all wrong. I said, okay, well, why don't you work out what yours is? Because at this point, I thought we were all going to pay for our own individually. That's just how I thought it was going. I wrongly assumed, obviously. So I said, why don't you and female who's with her work out what yours comes to? Like, everyone this end, work out what theirs comes to, and then if we've done something wrong, we'll know the difference, so then it'll be easier to fix. I don't want to do anyone out of money. Nobody wants to do anyone out of money. At this point, I still really didn't properly understand what was going on because I still thought we was all paying for our own. She looks at me and she goes, we are not going to work out the bill. I was like, okay, where do we go then? And then they slide it towards me and say, you do it. So I do. I run along like a good little girl and I start working out the bill again. The next time I look up, whilst I'm still working out the bill, they've gone. They've up and left. Bob is still hanging around. You can tell he's a bit uncomfortable, a bit awkward. Rightly so. It's a very uncomfortable situation. He doesn't know what to do. We don't know what to do. We're a bit like, where is everyone? What's going on? They've gone. They've gone. Apart from Gretchen, who's sitting in the car waiting for Bob. And we walks outside, and somebody from my end of the table, got to be so careful, goes up to Gretchen, who's sitting in the car, and says, oh God, and says, what happened? Why did you leave? Amber was working the bill out. If we've done something wrong, then we'll fix it. Like, why did you leave? She then says, that's it. We are never doing family meals again. Everyone from my end of the table sent a WhatsApp saying a similar sort of thing. Really disappointed in what happened tonight. Like, if there was a mistake in the money, we would have fixed it. Amber was sitting there working it out. The only WhatsApps that Gretchen was coming back to was mine. Is that maybe why my child is being left out, because of how they feel about me? I think so. So they took the bill home with them. They must have then worked out what they'd each had individually so that they could tell us how wrong we were. In the group, the WhatsApp group, the family chat, it comes back that the difference is £48. There's an elderly family member who was going to be paid for, and his dinner came to £49. There's the difference. My mum, who's an absolute angel, she straight away, I'm going to pay for him, I'll transfer it, la la la. To be honest, I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if they paid for him, if my mum paid for him, I'm not too sure. But what I do know is that there was a £48 difference, which of course had to be his meal, and so we actually didn't underpay. Oh, and in the restaurant, we were being told that we had underpaid by like £200 or so. I can't remember the figure, so don't quote me on that. But it was a lot of money that my end of the table had apparently underpaid by. Obviously, they worked out that, yeah, they had spent that money. And I'm sorry, but I'm not coming to a meal and paying for you to have 3 courses and your cocktails and your alcohol. I'm not doing that. I will pay for what I had, unless we're all doing a similar sort of thing and we've all had a similar amount, and then absolutely I'll split it. But until the day when I can afford to pay for other people's meals, I'm not doing it. Also, since then, I have found out a few interesting little details. So let me know if you want me to share.